the Hustler Rip Rogers. Yeah, it's fucking me. Yeah, and listen to the fucking Hameen Media Group. That's Ben Hameen Media Group from Rip Rogers. Go get him and go fuck yourself.
Yes. That's right, infidels. It's time to kick off your week and get ready to sell out for Riyadh season, because you're going to have to mortgage your entire life so you can get WrestleMania tickets next year. And I've got a better plan. I'm taking hostages again. And that's right, Jimmy the Korderas. I've gone to Canada. I've infiltrated. And now he's here in the locker room, ready for WrestlePalooza. Here, Hameen Media Group. YOLO. What is good, guys? What is good? Usually we do the grand intro and bring him on, but he's already here, so we got him tied up. No sense in beating around the bush. It's Hacker Hameen back with Art of the B to the V, and the greatest referee of all time, man. One some could argue, maybe he's no Don Stevens, but then again, who is? But welcome to the locker room here, Jimmy Korderas. Good to see you, pal.
Good to see you guys. Thank you for having me on. Man, what an intro. Greatest of all time. I don't know about that. You know what? I ended up buying a pair of red shoes just for the heck of it.
Just for it.
Yeah. So I kind of combine things. At my age now, it's going to be a combination of red shoes and Bronco Lubitsch, because I'll use the red shoes to count.
Right. I was one of the best referee things I'd ever seen in my life. I worked for the Megan brothers in Canada. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them in Toronto, but they do these crazy shows for the richest of the most wealthy of the chosen tribe, and usually it was one of the few outdoor backyard shows I ever worked on, with probably a $70,000 budget. The Toronto Raptors announcer was there, the Canada's Fastest Man was there, and then there's me, Colt Cabana, and Jake Roberts, eating kosher food as much as we can. But then we had another one in a synagogue, and they had Canada's Tallest Man there, and they had the Canuck Kid and another like Donald Trump lookalike midget, and this guy's 7'10" and just a giant, like, of just to even stand next to him is unbelievable. But he was the ref in that match, and they had him count on the top turnbuckle. He wasn't getting down or nothing. And these guys were barely up to his shin, man. So I'm glad to have a Canadian on right now. If there's anything we need more than unity, I guess, across borders, dude. I absolutely, I'm glad to have you here today. So Art of the B to the V, take it away, man. Step on.
Well, I'd say over in the chat, we are filling up the Hameen Army. Absolutely excited for this one. They have dubbed Mr. Korderas the GOAT over there. But Jimmy, I have to apologize to you. I was writing the copy, hyping this thing, and what a great feedback we got. So many shares, so many comments, people say, hey, what a score for a conversation. But I'd only credit you with it for 35 years. My Ohio math failed me. You're celebrating 40 years, starting way back in 85 at the Maple Leaf Gardens to MSG. Every famous arena around the world, WrestleMania moments. You've counted the 3 and raised the hand of icons. Again, 40 years, and you still give back to the business. So we thank you for that, sir. Absolutely thank you.
Well, it is absolutely my pleasure. I mean, it's true. They say that once this business gets in your veins, it never leaves you, and it doesn't. And my love for the business has not changed in those 40 years. And previous to those 40 years, as a youngster growing up here in Toronto, we got so much wrestling on TV. It was insane. It was all day Saturday. All day Saturday, we got everybody from Mid-Atlantic to WWF to AWA. Stampede Wrestling was on, International Wrestling from Montreal. And then, we'd have Hockey Night in Canada Saturday nights. As always, I'd watch my Maple Leafs. And then afterwards, they'd have All-Star Wrestling from Vancouver on one of those Kitchener affiliates. You know what I mean? So all day long, my mom was begging me to go outside and play. And I was like, no, got to watch my wrestling.
That's awesome. And I'll tell you right now, I'm having a Pavlovian response, obviously, because the Ref and Rant podcast is one of my favorite clips on Twitter. We love sharing those, that synergy. But I have to have coffee. Every time I see Jimmy now, I need a coffee, bro. He's got me conditioned. So I made one today. But I think, Rick and I, we love talking business on all things in marketing. There has to be a Jimmy Korderas coffee coming out this year. I helped Russo before with Broasters, but Broasters has been sold. But I think we got to pioneer Korderas coffee hour, like to have your own stripe bag, the whole nine. It's got to have all that.
Oh, that's an interesting concept. I kind of like that. Prince Nana has been promising me a sip of his coffee. Now that they're coming to Toronto, maybe he'll bring me up a bag of that stuff so I can finally try it.
Absolutely. Have you ever tried Jamaican coffee from Blue Mountain?
I've tried Jamaican coffee when I was down in Jamaica on vacation.
Yeah. Then you probably had it. It's just a next level as I'm going down there about 2 weeks for the anniversary. So I'm looking forward to having it.
It's a little sacrilegious, but I do like Turkish coffee, so I can't help myself. As a person of Greek descent, probably people are rolling over and spitting 3 times at me or whatever the thing is they do. I don't know.
Put the Maloik on you, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But my grandmother, believe it or not, used to turn over the coffee cups and read them. Read the coffee cups, which is a custom. Yeah. And I'm trying to look at these things even as a kid. Even now, sometimes I'll do it just for the heck of it and look at it and go, I have no idea. It just looks like a coffee running down the side of a mug. I don't know.
Well, I know I'll be getting points today from 2 of my very best friends, Dimitri Zordos, owner of Dippin' Donuts, and his whole family, who have been just unbelievable sponsors of local wrestling. And he's ring announcer and taking a couple bumps from me just because I like to bump my buddies when I get a chance to. And obviously the Greek god Papadon, the Alpha and the Omega. So we're representing Greek Town here today, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Now, Bit, I thought you were going to give a shout out to one of your best friends, especially in the business, Rep Sideburns.
Oh, yeah.
Who you travel with. I'm sure he is very, very jealous of you today to sit and have this conversation, which actually is a good jumping in point here for you, Jimmy, is because we regularly hear Ben talk about with his friend Rep Sideburns and how he watches professional wrestling, where Ben watches it with that very meticulous, creative mind. I enjoy the commentary, the marketing side. When you're watching throughout the years, today's product, do you watch through the referee's eyes to see what they see and how they're working a match and maybe not grading them, but critiquing and seeing how today's crop of referees handle themselves?
I absolutely do. And a lot of times it's not intentional. You know what I mean? When I'm watching, I do notice mannerisms, movements, how they conduct themselves in the ring and how they handle their interactions with the talent and little things like communication. Is it very obvious that they're communicating certain things? And the one, the biggest thing I have right now is every referee, it seems like that I watch, almost every, I won't say everyone, but 95% of the referees I see on television have a tell when it comes to false finishes. And I notice them and I can't help myself.
Oh.
Because it's that old adage, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I've told this story before where the show we used to do up here, Aftermath, our producer, we were down at Scotiabank, which was Air Canada Center at the time, watching SummerSlam in 2019, I believe it was here. And there was a match on. And as we were watching the match, there was a near fall, because there's a difference between false finish and near fall. If you want, we'll get to that later. But anyway, so there was a near fall and he went, oh, and he didn't see me flinch. And he says, what, you didn't move? I said, yeah, that wasn't the finish. He says, how do you know? I said, I just knew. He says, well, yeah, because you know what the finish of the match. I said, no, I'm not in the back. I'm not in the production meetings. I have no idea who's winning this match. So he said, so how'd you know? And I said, the referee has a tell for me that I could notice. And he goes, what is it? I said, I'm not telling you. He says, why? Because if I tell you, now you won't be able to unsee it and it's going to ruin your experience. He says, no, come on and tell me. And he was bugging me for like 5 minutes till finally I said, you really want me to tell you? He says, yeah. He says, I'm going to tell you, but don't blame me now. when you won't be able to unsee it. So I told him what it was. And then it happened again. And he goes, "You're right. I can't unsee it." That's why I will talk about it, but I won't reveal it publicly, because if I reveal it publicly, then other people will say, "Oh, I see it too." But now I get worried that if I bring it up, now they're going to be consciously looking to see if they could spot it as well. Sometimes it's the subtlest, littlest of the things. But
this is just Korderas laying the groundwork to say he's no stooge, is what it comes down to.
I try not to be. And let me put it, guys, I talk to people. I still have friends in this business, contrary to what Dax thinks. I have friends in this business still, and we talk. And the reason we still talk and I hear things is because they know I'm not going to put it out there.
Yeah.
So I would never betray the trust of any of my friends.
We went back to 85. Who was it that took you from, into the mafia, from watching all those great organizations and your hockey fights to saying, "Hey kid, we need help on ring crew. You want to come to the show?"
Well, it started at Maple Leaf Gardens. I was like a regular. Every 3 weeks. I used to run Maple Leaf Gardens on a Sunday, and then Monday they would do Brantford TV tapings for Wrestling Challenge. So that was like clockwork every 3 weeks. And then the Tuesday, everybody would fly out to New York to go to Poughkeepsie to do Superstars.
Right.
I would go every 3 weeks. I would take pictures. I would come back the next show and I would sell them, the ones I took, because there was a place here that used to develop your film, direct film, double your prints for $1. So I'd keep a set for myself and I'd sell the other set for $2 a pop. And the guy that used to take the pictures for Jack Tunney for the program in the magazine back then, Elio Zarlenga, he caught me basically saying, "You can't do that. It's kind of copyright infringement." And I went, "Uh-oh." And here's my mind. I'm not thinking, "Oh boy, I'm going to get arrested. I'm going to get something." I'm thinking to myself, "Damn, I'm going to lose my wrestling tickets." That's the way I thought.
Right. Yeah.
But, he said, "You're not a bad guy. Let me talk to Jack and see, maybe I could bring you on as my assistant and you can take pictures ringside with me." I went, "Oh, wow, that's cool." So he introduced me to Jack Tunney, and Jack says, "Well, we don't need another photographer. We'll find something for the kid to do." And it started off being, what is the jobs when you first start? Go get this, go get that. Hey, we need help with the ring. We need help with this, and that's where it started. That's where I got my foot in the door.
That is awesome. I mean, to go from fan and just having your own little side hustle there, and once you take money out of the promoter's pocket, they're gonna doesn't matter who it is, somebody stooge, that kid's making money over there off of us.
But he was cool about it too. He said, don't do it right in front of the venue where everybody can see it. We can talk a little bit, at least stay out of sight.
So Jimmy, you make that jump. You're in the business now. So throughout all of these years, we regularly hear that, the officials, the referees, they wear multiple hats. It's just not going out there calling the match. What's it like? And maybe it changes from the generation to generation, but overall, what's the comparison between the life on the road of an official, a referee, that referee locker room, as compared to the wrestlers and their locker room and their travel and all that?
There really isn't much of a difference. I mean, a lot of us referees at the time were also doing double duty, working on production. They called it the production aspect of it, including ring crew and other aspects were, behind the scenes stuff, whatever it is, working with, we used to call it the magic department, the props department as well. When we needed stuff, for example, chairs, ladders, we made sure that everything was taken care of in that aspect. A lot of the times for house shows, we had a ring truck that we used to drive from town to town. So the biggest difference was we would always be the guys who showed up earlier and left later.
Always,
and it was fine. I loved doing it. I didn't mind it. Obviously it'd be kind of cool to travel with the boys, which we did on overseas tours and stuff like that, where we all travel together on buses and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's nice to have that little bit of separation as well. Yeah,
because you are the boys, but you're also the ring crew guys, and you're not going to be the superstars in the spotlight,
right?
So it's a humble, and like you have to be a ghost in the ring most of the time to not draw until you need to be bumped or count to 3, right? So
you're supposed to be, yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Don. What is that? I mean, because obviously I helped train and make sure referee Sideburns had all of the etiquette. If I was going to bring a guy into the Mafia, like he represents me, right? And to watch wrestling in that way, and to watch referees, like you said, find a tell, or even find who is great and what made them great. So fans don't do that. You guys watch tonight, because the Raw is going to be the same thing. Somebody's going to do a dive. They're going to clear off the table and do something. Watch a ref tonight, you guys. Watch the whole match from the ref's point of view. And it's a different way to watch wrestling completely. What is it like inside the WWE machine, inside the ref click, inside the click, where you guys are kind of going to be seeing and hearing a lot more than anybody else does, but you have to stay the smallest sometimes?
Right. That's the thing. A lot of times people think it's okay, you're a referee, that's a glamorous job. No, it's a cool job to have, but it's not glamorous in the sense that, yes, you're in the ring with these larger than life superstars, but you, like you said, have to be kind of like a ghost. You're invisible. You're the background. You're a background player, but you're also a conduit that helps the match continue, because the match doesn't continue and flow without a referee.
Sure.
You're the guy who communicates back and forth. And one of the biggest challenges is, I like to tell a lot of people, is how to communicate without making it obvious that you are communicating something outside of making it look like you're admonishing someone for breaking rules, or telling them, giving somebody shit. Can we say that here? I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what the
maybe.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You have to do it in a way that it looks natural, as opposed to just walking up to somebody and going, okay, we got 4 minutes, let's go. It's
right.
And your mannerisms in the ring have to look authentic without going. I mean, obviously everybody says you have to play to the guys in the upper deck, the fans that bought a ticket up there so they could see you. Yes, I get that. But at the same time, you have to make your mannerisms not way over the top. When something big happens, you don't go, oh my God. And
you're selling
it. Especially in the world of television, where a subtle facial expression can mean so much more. Like if somebody throws a nasty looking punch and you just go, ooh, instead of grabbing your own chin and acting like you got socked, I see that and it drives me insane. Why are you selling? You're not getting hit. Look, react. It's okay to react. Just don't go overboard. Like I said, a subtle reaction like, oh, wow. Ooh, means a lot more.
And you're getting the final word really in the scene as the C player, while A and B duke it out, because you're the one who has to count 3. You're you're the symbolism for justice and equality and impartiality and rules,
right,
which should not be biased. So if you're selling for somebody, now you're showing empathy to them, as opposed to being down the middle, and the heel needs to break the rules in order to get the heat. So
right.
Like all of those things of staying small, of staying out of the way, is important to the overarching subtext of the scene to start with. And as soon as you start trying to do cool slide-ins and I'm on the moment and all that type of, the worst thing I think for me, there's a lot of worse things, but is the kick out, roll over, O-face. Here's where your money is, the Vince thing, right? Like, and like we're trained to do that, where instead of being right back on them, right in it, like taking that pause in a symphony of like, we stop and have to look, and then we continue again with the music. I just don't like that part of where you're kind of pimping the ref out at that point a little bit. I don't like those moments either.
No, you could still do it again, as long as you don't milk it too long. But
you'll see it 5 matches in a row too. That's the thing. Course. Everybody does it because it's the NXT sausage factory,
right? But somebody kicks out and you get that, oh, I can't believe it, instead of getting that kick out and somebody going, son of a bitch, like, and get that angry look on your face and go, oh yeah, you're gonna kick out, here's some more.
We just start feeding them hockey night style, right? Like while they're down there.
And if you're gonna feed them like that, make them look good. Oh my goodness. I mean, like these I see it every show, every company, these mounted, just rapid fire shots that are nowhere near looking good.
No.
You know what?
And after you got Raja Jackson laying in shoot shots in a phony show, how are you supposed to go back to these phony ground and pounds after that, bro?
So basically, my thought process is, if you're gonna do it, throw one good looking one, as opposed to the rapid fire stuff, because to me that'll make people go, ooh. As much as I hated the Travis Scott thing with Cody, it still made people go, oh wow. That connected. Whereas opposed to, look, he's not even close to hitting him. And when that happens, the magic is gone.
Well, one meaning something for the upper decks too, of grabbing him by the hair, showing the hand, bringing him up, looking at him, rearing back and hitting him one time and dropping him instead of 48 shitty punches. Then you can see are missing by a mile.
Yeah.
Like, how is that getting on TV? Because I don't think that would have.
Right.
From 1985 to 2005,
And when you got back to Gorilla, you definitely hear it. And
yeah,
again, like you said, the crowd reaction is what counts the most. That's your biggest barometer of what's working, what people are buying into. You throw that one good one and you get that crowd reaction, that ooh, or that oh. But if you're throwing 48 of them, like you said, you can't react after every one.
No.
You're not going to go, ooh, oh, ooh, ooh, oh.
And if a guy gets up at 30 seconds later and you hit him with 40 punches, your punches don't mean shit.
Well, don't even get me started on the pile drivers. But anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I need a sip after that one.
Yeah. Is there big dogging going on inside the referee clique where like the Hebners would swing way over guys to because they would be closer to the office, or is it all kind of like we got to protect each other in this? I got barracudas over here, stingrays, and sharks all around me, man.
No, actually, the Hebners were both Dave and Earl were great guys. Yeah. I learned so much from those guys, and they were so patient.
They learned a lot from you, like from when you were selling pictures. They went to the warehouse and started selling T-shirts.
I'm not going to get into that because there's a lot of misinformation on that one. That's for sure.
We're just ribbing. We're just ribbing.
I know those poor guys. I felt bad after that because it was nothing new. That was something else political.
Sure.
Behind the scenes behind that. So I don't, that's their story to tell, not mine, but I feel what happened to them was not right by them getting let go for those alleged reasons, but I'll leave it at that. But there wasn't really that much posturing because everybody knew Earl was the lead official, and the talent were the ones that wanted him in those main matches, those main events, and that sort of thing. And they felt comfortable with Earl. And that is completely understandable. And I was fine with working any match they needed. And people say, well, you were working the dark matches, tryout matches with these guys. And that's not, you know what? Those are just as important because they need to have someone in there as a again, when we talk about communication, being able to communicate with them during the dark match, because they have to treat it like it's a live match on television. So it's an education process for them as well. Mm-hmm. So having someone like myself or Charles or Mike Chioda refereeing those matches, we're helping them along by communicating with them. We may not be as discreet as we are on live television, but at the same time, we're doing it because we're trying to help those talents along and have them get a feel for what's going on. Take it easy, slow down. You're rushing too much. Sell a little bit more. Don't worry about it. Then you're communicating back and forth and that sort of thing. And then you got to make them hit their times, when the office has confidence in you in certain situations, like for a long time there, when they had those TLC matches, a lot, I was assigned every one of them because they felt comfortable in the work I could do, because that's different situation as, a regular match in the ring, where now, first and foremost, the priority is the safety of the talent. And you got to make sure that everybody's okay, especially with the crazy bumps and stuff that's going on in those kind of matches. So again, you have to be not only after the fact, kind of keep an eye on things and what's going on and look at what potentially could happen. Like I'll give you a quick example. Even WrestleMania 17, the TLC match there, everybody remembers that big moment. Jeff Hardy, hanging from the belt and Edge off the big ladder, spearing him into the. If you look right before that, there's a ladder laying in the ring. And I'm down in the corner. I'm trying to pull it over as much as I can to get that out of the way because God forbid they move, 6 inches this way or a foot that way, and one of them lands on it.
Yep.
So you have to be conscious of those sort of things. So they felt comfortable having me in those situations. And they also liked ribbing me a lot as well, putting me in those hardcore 24/7 hardcore matches, which was actually fun. But at the same time, it's like, okay, what can we do? We'll have them fight all over the building and do all sorts of things. And,
That's interesting perspective, especially if you become specialized in those matches of protecting the guys from themselves in a different way, because they're just thinking about high spots and getting to the next one. They're not thinking about getting the chair out of the way and what could possibly go wrong now. And there's got to be a decent line to walk with that, because we have seen some of these Money in the Bank matches or whatever kind of go too far, where refs are now holding the ladders so the guys can get their shit in spot. Now we're phony as fuck. And you asked me to swear you didn't hear the Rip Rogers opening. I figured that
oh yeah, that's right. That's true.
So and my pedigree is that I'm a Rip guy, and came through OVW and wrote and tried to shut up and listen under Al right before they went to FCW and all that stuff, Right. So but yeah, I think it's an interesting look for our listeners to hear it from a ref's perspective, because they should also get an associate director credit on the show, because I'm not sure how it was when you first started getting in the ring, if guys were just like, good enough to work and call their finishes, but you were definitely there for when things went to a full earpiece, where you are now the conduit between gorilla position and the guys in the ring giving go homes and giving finishes. On any film, that's an associate, an AD director position that you are in the moment calling the shots while also being in the scene yourself. Like, I don't know if there's any other art form where it comes across that way, you know what I mean? Where that happens.
I can't think of any.
A quarterback in the NFL is all I can think of, with somebody in their earpiece calling plays.
Right. See, that's the evolution of technology being introduced into wrestling. I mean, like when I first started, obviously we didn't have the earpieces, so all our time cues were coming from the timekeeper at ringside. So while you're doing your job and working the horseshoe in the ring during TV, so you didn't cut in front of the hard camera, you're also trying to keep an eye on whoever was the timekeeper down in the corner ringing the bell, because he was flashing hand signs at you for times and cues. And if you saw the pen go in the mouth, like, that meant go the hell home, right? Yeah. Hurry up, and stuff like that. And then the earpiece came in, which was both a curse and a blessing at the same time, because it was easier to communicate. You didn't have to divert your visual attention to the guy there. You're trying to look around, the cameraman at ringside going, I can't see the cue, and that sort of stuff. And now they're giving you the cues in your ear, but it also gave them the opportunity to keep yakking at you and tell them this, tell them that, tell them this, tell them that.
Right.
And a lot of guys, they get in a zone, especially when they're thinking about the match and what they want to do next, and you've got someone else telling them, hey, tell them to do this. So
and you're supposed to be part of the scene, and that's going to be taking you out of that in the moment while you're doing that. And then the guys in the ring are going to possibly be resentful when you're the one who has to deliver the message that you just got 2 minutes cut.
Right. Exactly. And everybody's looking at you. I've got some nasty looks before. Also got cussed out in the ring before, because guys are telling me to shut the F up, because they're in the zone. They're doing their thing. Sometimes, unfortunately, the referees are the guys that have to eat shit sometimes. But hey, that's part of the job. I didn't mind it at all, and I knew where it came from. It wasn't personal or anything like that. It was just frustration.
What do you think's better then, having Gorilla give the Iggy with the pen to go home, or some visual cue, that is sign language that instigates a live shooter or whatever. But like, or is it beneficial enough, but we overstep the bounds of using technology, and now the work is hurt and relies on it, as opposed to letting the artist create in real time and just giving them a loose go home cue.
I actually prefer the way it was in the middle there, when we had just the IFB where we could hear them and we couldn't talk back like they do now.
Okay.
I mean, I understand the benefits of having the talkback button, because especially in real time situations where, God forbid, somebody looks, very hurt, where they keep asking you, are they okay? Are they okay? And you can communicate with them. We had the hand signs that everybody knows about. They'd ask if they were okay. If they weren't okay, we'd do the dreaded X. And if they were okay, we just put one arm up in the air and let them know they're okay. But now with the talkback button, they're constantly asking, because I notice these things when they go to the little button, because it's a separate pack that they have to wear, because before you had your one IFB pack, so you can pick up. Now it's a separate unit altogether. It has to go in a different pocket or wherever you clip it on your belt. And now you've got a little mic on your referee lapel, so you can talk back. And you have to press this button so that you go to your waist and press the button in order to communicate.
So you're stooging off that somebody's talking to you, and now we're killing the reality.
And they know you're talking back to them. So what I would probably do, and it would drive them nuts, and they'd probably give me a ton of shit for it, is if it was me, I would leave that damn thing on and let them hear everything that goes on and drive them nuts.
Yeah. I would probably be done. Well, I'm too big and fat to be a ref, but I would just call back like Burger King orders on that to them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, if they said something to you, just click the button. Said, yeah, they want fries with that. Thank you.
12:37. Pull around.
That's good. Jimmy, you're talking about the relationship with the referees, working with the talents in the ring, and I encourage everybody, after our conversation, head on over to Amazon, where you can pick up the 3 Count My Life in the Stripes. It's a WWE referee, Jimmy Korderas' book, an amazing read there. Inside the book, you kind of detail some of the stronger bonds, relationships that you did develop with the different superstars. Can you talk about some of your favorites and how they respected what you contributed to inside the ring?
Yeah, I was blessed to make a lot of, everybody talks about the entire locker room being a family, and to a certain extent it is. It's your extended family, but there's certain people you form, closer bonds and closer relationships with. Eddie Guerrero, for example, like him and I bonded right away. It was almost like when he came over, I don't know what it was. Sometimes you just gravitate towards people and you find a common bond. And he was the one who helped me, not only as a friend, but also in the business, because I'm just a guy that used to sit in the locker room, listen to all the guys go over stuff and explain why they were doing things. Like, why are we going to do this in the match? Why do we do this? No, we shouldn't do that because this is why we shouldn't do that. Maybe we should do this instead. So I'm listening to all this and I'm taking all this in. And then Eddie would go over his match, or somebody, if I was assigned to it. Again, I want to be there to listen to them talk about it all the time. Talk about what they're going to do. So I could process where I need to be for them, not for me, for them. And he would look over at me every once in a while and he'd go, what? I said, what? He says, I know that look, what? He says, you got something. You're thinking something. I said, yeah, something just popped in my head. He says, well, what is it? And so he'd say, just tell me what it is. And he says, if I like it, we'll use it. If we don't like it, we'll just say, no, I don't think that fits. So, after a couple of times, he said, don't be afraid to offer suggestions. Just, come out and say, hey, do you mind if I make a suggestion? Don't come out and say, hey, I got a great idea, and stuff like that. Just, like you're always respectful. Just say, hey, do you mind if I make a suggestion? So he was the one that helped me come out of that shell and offer ideas respectfully again. And then obviously there are guys like the Canadian crew, Edge, Christian, more Edge to, for some reason, again, Edge out of that group and I really, really bonded very well. He wrote the foreword to my book, which was a huge, huge honor for me. And, oh man, there's just so many guys. Kurt Hennig was also one of them. A lot of the guys that don't get enough credit, like guys like Coach and Michael Cole and those sort of guys, Yeah.
They definitely also had to be on the shit end of the stick a lot of times. From office and talent just to pass the heat. It's going to land on somebody.
Right. Sorry for all that noise.
It's all good, man.
Somebody's playing with my front door.
So with, you're talking about the backstage relationships and all that. So with a little bit of the modern news, a lot of the podcasts, the talking heads have been talking about from your experiences, how real is unreal?
Well, you know what? Me watching it, I feel that they didn't really give away anything that wasn't really out there already. They just gave us a visual look at it, as opposed to people saying, well, this is how it works. They have creative meetings. They have this, guerrilla position where this goes on and that goes on. Now, all of a sudden, they get a look and a visual sense of what goes on. But still, they didn't give away everything. See, the way I like to describe it is, here's our toolbox. Here are all the tools. But we didn't show you how we put all the things together using those tools. We just showed you what we have at our disposal to get to where we go today. So there's still a little bit of meat left on that bone. They didn't give it all away. There's still a peek behind the curtain, but they didn't go full bore. Okay, this is how it's done. They didn't give the nuts and bolts of it.
There's a couple of tools in Gorilla on that show. That's for sure.
Oh my goodness. Here's the thing though. That makes me think, is it real or is it unreal? Because
it's not even close, right?
What they did when you were there. Catch up, Ben. So I don't mean to cut you off, but look what they did there. Look what they did there. They created a huge baby face in Chris Abyss. They made Bruce Pritchard a heel, looking like a total prick. And then again, another baby face, William Regal, coming over and being the calming force afterwards, which is him. That's not a work. That's William Regal. The guy you saw on Unreal. That's the real William Regal. So it's almost like you're creating characters for this television show.
It definitely is. But I think that is the real part of Unreal, is that even these guys who are still there, who've hung on through all the NDAs, and I have no idea how, why you would keep them around for liability reasons and stooge reasons direct to Vince, that they are still going to shit stir on Abyss to get their own stuff in, when the reality is, if you were running a real production with guys who trust each other and don't want to get their shit in, even if they're backstage, you would heat on Punk and Seth for going over times. You'd back up Abyss and have your producers back as an associate director.
Yes.
And instead, those dudes come back through, good brothering up, hugs, and it was the best main event of all time, or what have you. And the producer gets left holding the shit end of the stick, right? Because of these personalities backstage. Well,
you're right. I think a lot of the heat doesn't go to the right people. The talent, some talent. Well, look who's in the ring. It's Punk and Seth right now, two of their biggest stars. So obviously someone else has to eat the shit. And unfortunately, in this case, it was Chris. But at the same time, it goes back to what the old boss used to say, Vince. If you're going to go over your time, it better be damn good, because if you do it again, you won't be here. You know what I mean? But
it looks what it looks like is that we're so over that we don't have to listen to our producer and disrespect him. He'll take the shit out of the stick, and we'll continue to be good brothers who can do what they want to do. And instead of run like any other normal business would run the opposite way, you're letting your lowest level employees believe that they're baby face over, which is the number one reason why baby faces are a problem most of the time.
Which again goes to the referees as well. Now they get back to Gorilla. Were you passing the cues? I mean, like,
yeah,
as you could see in that scene, Chris is telling him, he's telling them, look, he's telling them. You can see him telling him. So, I already told him to cut this out. I already told him to cut that out, And
he should
he could, other than running down to the ring and just doing a run in himself. What is he supposed to do?
He goes out with a kendo stick, puts it in his mouth.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so very good take, RBV. I'm going to be on with Vince Russo doing the final episode of Unreal over there, you guys. So look for that coming up soon. I look forward to recording that because there's some very quality Michael Hayes takes in all of that. Let me shine Canada. They were asking if there's a tariff on this podcast today. I actually did a quid pro quo because I went and saw the Strictly Hip last week at Funk and Waffles in Syracuse, the greatest Tragically Hip cover band there is, and it was a great show. I absolutely needed to hear some Gord, and I know being a Toronto guy, I worked that Toronto corridor, and I went to school. I went to college. Your mom goes to college out Fredonia. So that Buffalo to Toronto corridor is very special to me, and working for Crossfire with Chris LaPlante or the Megan brothers, really, I'm not some international indie superstar, but I've crossed borders, and my act really fit there. It was really like a time capsule for me to get to go back and work kind of I got to say, it's like 1995 WWE there. And that really worked for what I needed to do. And you could turn around and there'd be great legends from Bobby Bass to Alexander the Great, and Ron Hutchinson to show up. And of course, right after I have my last match with that idiot Chris LaPlante, he brings in Bret Hart to be at the show. Like, you couldn't fucking bring in Bret to be at our last match. You just bring him in after that. So, but yeah, man, I love everything about that up there, that Canadian music from Kensington Market, lowest of the low. I've been lucky to be friends with Ron Hawkins and all of it, man. I really enjoy it, and I wish we could get more of that crossover of that culture. It just seems like we're divided for no reason, man. But for me, that music is kind of my soundtrack to my life. You had mentioned Edge, and I know he's a huge musicologist when it comes. So I don't know if you were on the road with him. I'm sure you got a grade A music education as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. But again, because the fact that I was on the ring crew as well, unfortunately, I was saddled with Tony Chimmel for most of that. So
okay. How's his musical taste? Is
he didn't have any. He only had taste for food. That's about it. And you know what? It was funny because the rule. The person who drives gets control of the radio.
Yeah.
In the car. So I always drove. So I used to drive him. He wasn't bad. He didn't mind my musical taste. I'm all over the board when it comes to music, but still, I love that old 70s, whatever it is. It doesn't matter whether it was 70s rock, 70s R&B, that kind of stuff. I'm a 70s guy because I was a young kid and I was growing up listening to that from my older brother and older sister.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what stuck with me and still sticks with me today.
Hey, staying alive at one morning on the road will keep you awake. That'll get you going if you need
between the radio, between the radio, Pepsi, Marlboro Lights, and those little cheesy poofs, I could drive all night long.
And hey, that's what I got to put over, because not only is referee Sideburns is my best friend, that he's the greatest wheelman in wrestling, man. These referees, that's the thing. When you come out of the ring, dude, refs will have 3-4 matches a night. Sometimes Sideburns, if the other ref cancels, will have to do the whole show up, down, all these false finishes of guys who want to get their shit in. He's beat the piss, plus would have to stay and do ring crew like we would, like good indie workers, and then drive it home 3-4 hours while my body's beat up from taking bumps. That doesn't mean he's not blown the fuck up from working all night in a horse barn at the county fair where it's 95 degrees with no fans or nothing, So that's another thing referees don't get enough credit for, is being the best wheelmen in the business, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about all referees, but I will Barry Horowitz myself as far as being a driver. That's for sure. Like I said, I didn't mind. I'm a horrible passenger. I can't sit there for 3, 4, 5 hours in a car and just kind of like look at nothing, because you're driving at night. First of all, you can't see anything.
No,
you know what I mean? It's not. So
his dad was a trucker, so it's in his DNA, I think. You know what I mean? To be able to do that, man.
Well, Jimmy, you guys were talking about, crossing borders, hitting the road. Two-part here. So internationally, where was one of your favorite places to visit? And what do you think about today's WWE atmosphere, where they are more focused internationally, more continents, more cities, more dates?
First of all, my favorite places to go. Yeah, wow. Obviously going to Europe is always fun, but I liked Australia. I really liked Australia when we were there. It's a similar. I know people are going to hate this. It's kind of similar to the UK, but more chill. If that makes any kind of sense. I always liked going there when we did. We've been to, oh my God, so many wonderful places, which is amazing. One place I liked, except for the experience with the hotel, the original hotel we had was Tokyo, when we went over there to do TV for the first time ever, because they had booked, oh my God, they had booked a hotel, they call the TV hotel for all the talent, but they had overbooked the hotel. So there was like 6 or 8 of us. They asked us, will we mind shifting over to a different hotel for the first night? And we were like, yeah, that's fine. No big deal. What the hell? And it's kind of cool because we can relax instead of being there with all the mess going on, because especially when all the fans find out where everybody's staying, it's all of a sudden it's chaos and you can't even leave the hotel and stuff. I said, yeah, we'll go. And they booked us in this place called the Owl Hotel. And the rooms were about big enough for an owl. I mean, this was insane, because picture this, we're traveling overseas. We got these luggage, you got your bags with you and stuff. And the rooms were so small, I put my key in the door and broke the window. I mean, that's how damn small it was. No joke. You walk in this room, the door to enter the room blocked the entry to this tiny little bathroom. And then once you walk in, there was this tiny little bed that, look, I'm not asking for king size bed or anything like that. Just give me something I could fit on. This was this tiny little bed, and there's this small little space between that and the desk. And the desk had this TV on it that was about this 12-inch TV with a coin slot in the side. And I'm like, where the hell are we? So we go over for the setup the day before, and Shane happened to be there, and Tony Chimmel, of course, complains about everything, and I would have too, but he started complaining to Shane about it, and Shane said, "What?" So Shane got that taken care of, and we ended up magically getting rooms at the TV hotel. So
they booked you at the youth hostel in Tokyo. That's
what it felt like. I mean, I'm telling you, they had our rooms. All our rooms were in a row, like on this one floor, in this elevator that only fit one person. So, but we got it up to the floor, and everybody looked at each other. They went in their rooms, and everybody's waiting to just talk to each other and go, "Do you believe this place?" It was clean. I'll give it that. But man, it was tiny. It was tiny. There was nowhere to put your bags.
Yeah. How big was Shane's room? That's
exactly. I can only imagine. But Shane was always good. He always looked after us. Shane made sure everything, he would come up to us, say, "Is everything cool with you guys?" Stuff like that. Yeah, we're good.
So with the modern direction, we'll talk some more about the business, but more specifically towards the international expansion. Again, more continents, more cities, more shows. Do you feel it's adding a more positive flavor and popularity for professional wrestling?
On a global standpoint, I'll say yes. From a global perspective, yes, it is adding. I know there are people that are saying they're a little upset that they are taking especially big events, like we just heard recently that WrestleMania 43 is going to be in Saudi Arabia, and a lot of people are up in arms over it. And I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, The popularity of WWE now is bigger than it's ever been. And stop looking at the TV numbers, because ratings are not the same like they were during the Monday Night Wars. This is a completely different animal now. We didn't have streaming services. We didn't have all these other methods of watching. People are apparently watching later on. No, not as many people are watching live, but they're still coming back to watch the product, regardless of what it is. There's so much wrestling out there on television now and available on streaming services. It's hard to keep up with it all. And in the midst of that, you know, and here it comes. I'm not getting the blue check from Stanford here. I'm just saying that WWE is doing it right. TKO is doing it right in this from a business perspective. You may not like what they're doing on television. You may have problems with their creative. You may have problems with their storyline progressions, whatever the case may be, how they present their television. At the end of the day, they're filling seats and they're making money. And unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, that's the end game of this. It's the wrestling business, not the wrestling hobby. And that's the problem I have. And people say, you're all over AEW. Why do you trash this? I'm not trashing them. I just want them to be better. I don't want them to go away. I want them to be better, because if they're better and they're doing good business, guess what? Everybody else gets elevated from this. It's not just them. It's not just WWE. It's everybody. You know, rising tide lifts all ships. It's a cliche, but it's absolutely true. So they say, why are you so hard on them? You're not. I critique my WWE. I critique them all the time, but nobody says. Every time I do, crickets. I don't hear any feedback from it. As soon as I say one thing about AEW, release the hounds.
Yeah,
here they
release
come.
FTR anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like, what the hell? You know, wrestling fans, I don't know where this divide came from.
And all right, well, now I got to get heat with you, because you're the senior official here, but I'm gonna go heel and push back, because you make great points of what your perspective is, and AEW has the opportunity through any SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. The opportunity is to counteract the overpriced ticketing and turn down your violence of Darby jumping through a plate glass window, and do a family show, family ticket price, and run with that.
Right.
To go off the bad PR. As a businessman myself, and not that I run a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate, someday I probably will. I've been known to consult them and advise them, allegedly. You know, yeah, that I think the old adage of it's better to sell a man 5 cars over 25 years is much better than hit them once at a high price and leave them with buyer's remorse. But it doesn't matter, because the Wells Fargo wagon has already left town and they're stuck with the product. And that will only have a short shelf life, as opposed to getting the value out of them over X amount of period of time. So now we're already seeing a negative response in this last week to that, because the internet's going to troll and they're going to cry and bitch and moan, and that's what they do. But when you're raking them over the barrel for 10% of their annual income for their entertainment, they do have a point, right? And then you bring out your exec at an executives meeting of investors. It's not like he was making a PR statement of, we're going to bleed these motherfuckers dry and turn this into NASCAR, and everybody's going to have a corporate brand on everything, which is what they're doing, which is smart business. That part is intelligent.
Right.
Now let's get to Riyadh season.
Okay.
Well, happy holidays as we remember 9/11, or don't remember it. This isn't the terrorist you're looking for. And none of that is answered. And the Saudis have a $1 trillion public fund. And now you have people who are directly connected to TKO and other who knows what regimes taking money from Saudis directly and selling out a product that has a legacy of being an American-made product that took everything global. To wrestling unites us across all borders, and for that reason, the Saudi people should be able to have a show. However, you cannot have a USO show, tribute to the troops, underlining 9/11 going on with none of that solved and 19 hijackers being the official story and all that, and then sell an American product because the Saudis want to create their own Las Vegas and everybody has a price for the $1 trillion bin Salman. And that is what we're doing, is selling out in real time and saying, we don't need to have the resolve that has rocked our nation for 20 years, and we'll just sell you our goods and franchise it out with a smile on our face and act like nothing has gone wrong, while they then raise prices on the working man here. I think it's a very greedy business tactic. And will it bring in a huge payday for their stockholders? Absolutely. But wrestling as we know it, from a guy who grew up in the trailer park and made himself into a Connecticut blue blood, is gone forever. And people want to hold on to that image of wrestling, but it's not. It's now going to be a whore that is pimped out to the highest bidder. And these guys want to build a 2030 Las Vegas. And that's what we're doing, is just selling our souls.
No, I completely understand that viewpoint. And you know what? I half agree with it. But at the same time, I think to myself, people are saying, well, TKO sold out by taking WrestleMania there. When this agreement was first made, people were up in arms about it. But then that was it. You heard them complain and it went away. Then the Royal Rumble was announced that they were going to be in Saudi Arabia, and everybody was up in arms about that. And now, nobody's really complaining about that.
I don't know. They looked like they were in a hostage situation at that press conference, and nobody brings up 10 hours on the tarmac and Vince cutting the live signal. Like there's it all gets swept under the table because it's all about the money.
Yes,
at the end of the day, bro.
But at the and you talk about the end of the day, if you're going to complain about WWE selling out and doing business in Saudi Arabia, can you look at other businesses from the United States that have business interests in Saudi Arabia?
Well, let me quote this. I like Tim Dillon's podcast a lot, or I did. And now all of them, Theo Vaughn, all of them are CIA-backed ops as far as I'm concerned. But Tim Dillon and those guys get over because they're in the Joe Rogan clique. Joe Rogan, right to TKO. Obviously, Ari probably reps him and helped him get his $50 million deal. Tim Dillon, an openly gay comedian, very Alex Jones influenced, is now going to Saudi Arabia to do the Best of Austin Cool Guys podcast with Kill Tony, where they're all cashing in on a one-shot deal. I think Tim said he's getting $375,000. So now everything you believed about gay rights, equality, your whole moral code goes out the window when they can hit the price the right way. So we can't have it both ways and act like it's not going on and then just go, oh, it's fine. It's fine that they do that. And then Bianca Belair is going, we've helped women in the country. And I'm like, wearing a skin tight wetsuit for all these weirdos in the crowd is helping women in this country? I don't think it is.
Well, if you look at it this way, were women actually allowed to wear skin tight outfits in public?
Why are we there then?
You know what I mean?
Are we there? You want to bring America? That's not America.
It's money. It's all about the money. It's the bottom line. It's just like McDonald's, Starbucks, KFC, Burger King, Pizza, Nike's there. I mean, Apple. If you're really that upset about it, throw away your iPhone. Yep. And I mean, like, I'm just trying to make a counter argument. I'm not saying, you know what I mean?
No, I get you.
I mean, if people are that upset about the politics of this, then wrestling shouldn't be the only platform where you're expressing your disgust.
Yeah, people should be pissed that Korean kids are making your Nikes, but at the same time, there wasn't a terror attack tied to there's plenty of other human atrocities tied to your iPhone and all that.
Exactly.
But it was that point, and none of that's been resolved. And now we're selling out, which is what is the biggest actual sporting event in the world?
Probably the Olympics or World Cup.
Yes, the FIBA World Cup. Yes, thank you. Was there in 2023, and they're going back in what 2034? I get. You know,
and FIFA, the
everybody's
most corrupt, one of the most corrupt board of directors as well. That's what I'm saying. There is no royal family. There is no TKO. There are these states of extremism, and they all control mega amounts of money, and they do the pawn thing of shock and awe, but they will sell what seems to be religious integrity, patriotic integrity, loving your family and being able to provide for them. They will pimp that out and sell that at the drop of a hat, and then act like we didn't see any of the shit that they've done this whole time, bro. That to me is a weird business practice that I don't have the power to partake in. I can only sell a guy 5 cars over 25 years.
No, I get it. But at the same time, from a business standpoint, I know a lot of people out there saying, well, Vince McMahon would never have done this. He's the one who brokered the deal with them in the first place. And let's say they came to Vince and said, Vince, we'd love to have WrestleMania here. And Vince was like, oh, I don't know about that. Well, Vince, we're going to give you $250 million. Okay. Anybody who thinks that Vince wouldn't do that, I'm sorry. You don't.
But it's a bought house show is really what that show is.
Right.
It's a bought show.
Right. Now, the only difference here is it's WrestleMania, which fans think is theirs, and it's a destination for not only WWE fans, because now it's become a place where other companies like a lot of indie companies, they can congregate at the site of where WrestleMania is every year. It becomes a week-long event. You've got the WrestleCons, and there's so many people that come for that. I've heard stories where some people just go to WrestleMania week just to attend all the other events.
I told Josh from 2CW, my business partner at Ravens Joint, I go, we're going first indie to go do WrestleMania week in Riyadh. How do we get a piece? Hey, let's go. I'll sell out. What is my sellout number is what I'm trying to get to, Jimmy. I'm not trying to preach from on high here. I'm just saying 2CW. It's Riyadh season. Let's go. We're gonna be the first indie show there.
What is the fan? I'm glad that you mentioned, Jimmy, that FIFA went there. I'm going to go look at those numbers that we saw for their tourism. How many it drew. I mean, obviously with WrestleMania, it is for the fan because, they regularly brag about how many countries that they draw from, and they all come to North America for that. So how many globally wrestling fans are going to, do you envision making that trip? Or has been mentioned, obviously they don't care because this is already bought. They don't need to worry about selling a ticket. The Saudis will pack that place themselves, but internationally, what we regularly get, will we see that impact, or will there be that final backlash? We're not going to travel for this.
That's the question. I wish I had the answer for it, but that's unfortunately going to be one of those wait and see, because, it'll be easier for people on that side of the pond to access somewhere like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. For people in North America, it is pricey, and it is going to be a tough sell to them to go. And from the people that I've talked to that have been there for WWE, they say it is really nice over there. Everything I'm talking just about the visuals, about how places like Riyadh look. It is a beautiful city. Take the other stuff out of it, just saying from a visual standpoint. And of course, when you go over there as part of the WWE crew, you are treated, differently.
What's the other stuff?
That political stuff that you talked about through Discord and all that stuff. But
Sami Zayn's favorite topics.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
The new thing is, it's a beautiful city. We're building it's because the people that they brought in to build it, they take their passports, so they can't leave until the job is done.
Job's done.
So now we have, we're just normalizing slavery, but this is the best time for women in Saudi Arabia ever. They're not stoning them in the streets anymore.
At least they could drive. At least
that's the worst thing they could have done. That decreases my faith in the process.
Inside the wrestling bubble, with the announcement, outside of all the politics, everything else, but inside the wrestling bubble, we're talking about opportunities for AEW and Tony Khan to strike back. Wouldn't this present an incredible chance for him to say, I'm going to run New York City, invite all those indies in, all those conventions or run London that same weekend. Go head to head with their WrestleMania if you're Tony Khan.
I would if I was him and I had his money. I mean, obviously,
I mean, they do it to him. They don't stop doing it to him.
I don't want to sound like I'm taking shots at him because I've taken enough over the years, but no, from a business standpoint, he's the one guy who has the resources and the funds to actually be able to do something like that and not worry about making money. Anybody else that wants to try something like that, they would need to have to get something back in return. Whereas Tony Khan, for him, this, and I say this, God bless him for giving another place for people to work. But for him, this is almost like a hobby. So if that's the case, he should do exactly what you said. Set up a huge weekend, invite all these other companies to join him on a celebration of wrestling and see what they could do. Can they draw the numbers that WWE does on WrestleMania weeks and weekends? I don't know, but it would be worth a shot.
And isn't that what WWE ID program truly really is a way to cut off the indie flow to Tony Khan to do things like that more than it is like, oh, we're at that, and to give, ex WWE talent a stamp of approval so people go to their school as well. But that was part of the kind of mafia shot to cut off the pipeline to him in that respect. But I think right now he needs wartime consiglieres around him because there's moves for him to make here to gain indie cred, and to counteract this bad WWE PR of the greed grab.
No, I agree. But he needs to put his ego in check and allow others to be that voice that
he almost needs to step back and let somebody else.
Exactly. I know he wants to be the guy in charge. He wants to be like Vince McMahon, but I'm sorry, he's not going to be Vince McMahon. There's nobody.
Yeah, you got like 18 more NDAs to sign before you're
But even Vince McMahon had Pat Patterson. Vince McMahon had Jack Lanza. Vince McMahon had
Gorilla
Paul Heyman.
Yeah,
he had Gorilla Monsoon. He had P.S. Hayes. He had guys that he listened to. But everybody thinks that, well, Vince did what he wanted. He did do what he wanted. And at the end of the day, he had the final say. But he also took advice from others. And if he liked it, he used it. If he didn't, you saw some of the stuff we got when Vince didn't listen to him. So
what was your personal interaction with Vince? How close was that working relationship?
NDA, bro.
No NDA. I never had an issue. Yeah, I never had an issue with Vince. I mean, basically I only saw him at TVs and pay-per-views. So very rarely at any house shows, but that was only in the Northeast. If we ever, he would come out to those, but he'd show up at the building. He'd say hello to everybody like the boss. And, they'd do their production meeting. You'd get your assignments and you go over your matches and he'd come over. Hey, how you doing today? And hey, good, boss. How you doing? He says, you got everything? Everything good? Yeah. And then after the match, if he had something he wanted to tell you, he told you. And if he didn't, and that was it. And then he'd thank you. He did,
you couldn't ask for a better day in the locker room with no heat dropping on you.
No, really. I've had those days where I've heard it from him, and there's other days and where I've got the pat on the back. Good job. It was a boss employee relationship with me and Vince. That was it. It wasn't like we hung out or anything. Like people have these misconceptions that everything that was going on back then. No, I don't. What the heck do I know? I didn't hang out with Vince. The only time I interacted with him ever after a show was way back when, after a TV taping, went to the hotel, back to the bar. And do you remember when they had the fedorettes? They were the girls that took the jackets and they wore these purpley kind of outfits. And there was a no fraternizing with the fedorettes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So afterwards, it was the hotel bar, and they were playing music. There was a dance floor, and they were dancing. And so I wasn't doing anything. There was no ulterior motive. I went because I like to dance. I went to dance, and hopefully I don't dance like Elaine Bennis, but hey, so I was out there and I was just dancing, and in walks Vince. to the bar, and I'm not thinking anything of it. And he comes storming over on the dance floor. I went, oh, am I going to catch some heat here? He says, James, what are you doing? I said, I'm dancing. He says, what? I said, I'm just dancing, man. He says, dancing? You call that dancing? That's not dancing. This is dancing. And he starts doing this. He starts doing that.
And like, back comes on. He just had his music ready.
I guess. And I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm going to leave this alone, and I'll just walk over there and have another beer.
Come on, Jimmy, you got the opportunity to go be world champ right here. Beat the boss in a dance off.
No. If you beat the boss in a dance off, now you get squashed, man.
Yeah, then Bundy's putting you in the corner and move
of course.
That's awesome. And well, somebody who probably might be doing some time with Vince because he's got more time on his hands. We start to bring this to a close. The other big bit of business that's kind of still to be talked about, controversial, is Andrade being let go. And there's, as the internet will, that it was disciplinary or didn't pass a B12 test or, maybe something else. There's kind of little mysteries around this. And it's strange because I have to say, are they working it now that it's a part of AAA? Maybe they're trying to make him look like he's the exiled one. And so if he does a run in, it means something, you know what I mean? I haven't gotten any inside word yet, but kind of a interesting rehire, especially with the Charlotte divorce and that becoming controversial. And they didn't really lean into him doing anything with Tiffy, which they had an opportunity to kind of do.
Right.
He had a couple good matches and he's in very good shape. And so that the rumors could easily lean that way, but interesting that Andrade in and out again.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, I'm not, and it's easy for us to point fingers at, oh, well, the reason he got let go is whatever that is. Creative didn't do him any justice. The way he was booked was horrible. And you can make those claims, but at the same time, sometimes it falls upon the talent. You have to be smart enough to be able to speak up sometimes, but not be antagonizing. You know how it is in the business. When you come off sounding like a dissident, then all of a sudden you're kind of like, okay, we're going to push you to the side now. You want to be an asshole a little bit, okay. You're going to be an asshole way over here. If you speak up, respect, hey guys, I'd really like to do something more. I have some ideas. Can I present them to you? And especially now under this regime where the boss is so accessible and he's there all day helping out, he will find time to talk to you because you say, hey, Paul, you got a few minutes? I wanted to present.
He's got time to open up Topps trading cards online. That's how much time this guy.
Absolutely. So the time is there. So, some of these guys think, okay, I'm waiting for something. They've got nothing for me. Nobody's coming. Go to them. Say, hey guys, I really got some ideas I want to present to you, and I'd really like to help and contribute. Sound like the company guy, sound like the team player, as opposed to, it only works for a handful of people. If that can go up there and say, you know what, give me the ball, I could run with it. I
wish it was that way. And I'm sure you do too, Jimmy, but you get the rep of people talk about Sami Zayn doing too much and maybe not walking the line of the way, but now here he is. So there's something to be said for keep knocking on the door. Then the other part of that is Killer Cross. There's multi-millions written on him, literally the next Triple H, which may be the issue with it all. And we're getting no value and we're trying to lowball him and also devalue him before his contract's re-signed. Then we just let him go, you're nothing without us, like that type of feeling, instead of getting behind him. LA Knight, another guy who's vocal and doesn't want to deal with the bullshit. He gets glass ceiling when there's more multi-millions written on him doing the Austin Rock Flair, best of series.
Yeah. My problem with someone like an LA Knight right now, I think what would be best suited for him is a heel run, because really he as much as he's a baby face, he doesn't really present himself like your traditional baby face. And I know a lot of people say, well, traditional baby faces don't work nowadays. It's 2025. May I point you in the direction of Cody Rhodes, who still has some heel undertones if you think about it. The way he presents himself, the way he talks, there's eventually down the road, everybody wants it to happen tomorrow. No, Cody Rhodes will become a heel before his time is up, and it's going to be monstrous.
Yeah.
But you can't rush that thing. Everybody wanted John Cena to turn heel. Well, guess what? You got your wish, and what happened?
Wow.
Shit the bed. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's because the creative team doesn't know what the fuck they're doing at all.
I think they got a little bit derailed by the final boss a little bit.
I think there's a lot to that story too, still to come.
Didn't help the situation where you're expecting The Rock to come out, and at WrestleMania you got Travis Scott, who took 13 minutes.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
If you're going to take 13 minutes to get to the ring, to do your little interruption, sorry.
Well, you're coming back to help your husband and you skip to the ring. Like, it's one dumbass thing after every week, you know what I mean, of where we should be versus where we are. And then we're charging a premium price for the lowest quality, of product. So, I mean, will that change? No, I agree that LA Knight has great heel qualities, and anybody from LA instantly is going to draw that type of heat back to him, that attitude, and looks like $1 million. But
you guys know this. I mean, like, who eventually becomes your most revered baby faces?
The redeemed heel that makes a choice. Absolutely. But you need to have a choice made. Right. So that brings me to the end of these shows, and I don't want to just do reviews, but here we are with Jimmy turning on LA Knight, or excuse me, Yeet turning on LA Knight in front of Jimmy, going, what? When we didn't even build what it should have been. He spears him on the Slim Jim logo. The commercial, these guys are both in the Slim Jim logo. This is your new Hogan Mega Powers Savage. Those guys should have gone on a tag run, not bring Jimmy back to do the same thing, or at least feign it like we're going to do a Mega Powers run and we're the Slim Jim guys, and then heel on them in the middle. And it should have been the other way, right? Not fucking Jay healing on him. It should have been LA Knight healing him. So I just don't understand how they got the business so upside down, backwards, and factors that shouldn't even be in it. And what does Slim Jim feel about it when their spokesmen are now at odds? That is all dumbass business decisions to me.
I think sometimes a lot of companies get caught up in this trap where they're trying to be so unpredictable that it doesn't make sense. Trying to surprise your audience. Sometimes keep it simple, stupid, still works. Yeah. Just go down what makes logical sense. You got to do, if this makes sense, but we want to surprise them. We don't, this whole thing about surprising everybody, don't surprise them with what you do. Surprise them in how you tell that story, because there's ways to get to where you want to go. So it's like, for example, I'll give you the movie The Iron Claw. We already knew what the outcome was going to be.
Yeah.
But the story that they told getting to that was incredible. My wife, who's not a wrestling fan, watched that movie and she was enthralled. She was captivated by it, even though she knew what, the story, because I had told her.
The overarching theme is pleasing your father. Well, that's the thing. We have no themes in any of these. We have no underlying id of what's driving these characters to do any of these things. Right.
Again, it's the storytelling, and as much as they hammer down that it's not about the 5-star matches and that sort of thing, it's about the stories being told and the characters in these stories. They still have to build it and make logical sense and connect the dots, as opposed to, okay, here we're going down this lane. Oh, here's an off ramp. We're going to go over here.
Yeah, there's 10 ways to skin the cat to get to your finish of what you want, but you can't have a show like Unreal where they do a telephone game of, and then I called Rock and Nick Khan approved it and Cena said he liked it and Cody said, yeah. Then 6 months later, never mind, Jedi mind shit. We don't know what we're doing, and we're back to t-shirt sales. Oh, we fired R-Truth, then brought him back as a heel to say F you, but now we're going to do the Ron Cena thing with Brock. Like, dude, there is nobody there and even Steph goes, we write stories a year in advance. Oh yeah. This was the story the whole time, to not bring back Rock, not do a sellout soul thing and just flip them back. Like, And meanwhile, they pat themselves on the back. I believe that all of their YouTube metrics are a complete work. You don't have 1.1 million people on TV watching your show and 93 million on YouTube watching a clip. It's easy to bot farm it. Even Tony Khan said they're using hate bot. Get me hate bot. And to counteract them. And the fact that there's no Castrol GTX slam of the week on those YouTube clips further make me believe it's all a lie, all a work, and they're selling a bad bill of goods. Even their Netflix metric is plugged in. So if it's 2.4 million and 1.4 during the live, that extra million is nothing more than an equation. It's not a true metric that's being put over by these Netflix executives, who I also think are being worked, because I worked with the USA Network president. I talked to the head of programming at Fox, and they all were like shocked when they came to this revelation of they're lying to me. Bruce Pritchard and Paul Heyman that they sent to talk to me are lying to me. No. Yeah. Yes, they are. And it's all a work. I think all those numbers are a lie.
I don't believe any numbers that come out from anyone, any source, anywhere. You know what? That's why I don't pay as much attention to them when I hear the ratings come out. It's like I watch a show and couldn't give a flying fernum whether they did 600,000, 6 million, or 60 million. To me, did I enjoy it? That's all that matters to me. The only thing that concerns me about ratings and I pay attention to is, you know, I want the shows that I like to continue being on television. That's it. That's the only reason I look forward to it. Sure. I look at them. You know what I mean? The whole stuff going on behind it. Are they real numbers? Are they not? Again, one of those things that I don't pay attention to. I let the other people argue about that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, executive producer, all Levesque, Lee Fitting. I mean, that's how we roll the credits on it every week, man.
An Emmy.
Yeah, exactly. It's coming sooner or later. Jimmy, where can people find you on Twitter, and what podcasts are you got going on this week we can tune into?
On Twitter, I'm at Jimmy Korderas. On Instagram, at Real Jimmy Korderas. The podcast, Huge Pop Radio with my good buddy Donnie De Silva. We're on everywhere you want to find your platforms. It's hugepopradio.com. You can go there and catch it as well. Last week we had Carlito on, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
Thank goodness he didn't spit in the apples at us. And this week we're going to have ESPN personality, my old buddy Arda Ocal on, aka Kyle Edwards, nice. Which we had a nice time catching up with him. And on the other podcast, Reffing It Up with my good brothers in stripes, Brian Hebner and Daniel Spencer. And I got to give a shout out to RJ, because RJ he's the one who pushes all the buttons, because without him, we're lost in just yakking to each other like we're having a phone conversation. But this week, who we got this week? Oh, last week we had RVD. And this week we're going to have Mr. Kennedy, Anderson, whatever you want to call him this week. So that's what I'm doing now. And also my Ref and Rants every Monday to Friday on all those social media platforms, just giving a critique, giving an opinion here and there. And look, you don't have to agree with me, but you don't have to be a dick if you don't.
And unbiased down
don't
the
be
middle.
A deck. Don't be a deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, look, again, every opinion that I make is my, like I said, opinion. You know what I mean? Everybody's entitled to disagree, agree, whatever you want. But, this whole, anyways.
How dare you get so mad about men in underwear laying on top of each other for 3 seconds? No,
2.5.
I can't say thank you enough for accepting our invite to join us here on Hameen Media Group. I hope this is the beginning of a great crossover between shows, and I want my audience to make sure your coffee's brewed and ready to go for all those Ref and Rants, and make sure you're sharing them and following Jimmy on all those platforms, because it's a great inside look at the business from the referee's side, as well as someone who's lived it in many decades and seen it evolve. And really enjoyed our conversation here today, man.
I really appreciate it. Thank you guys. I had a blast and it was fun. Look, hey, talking about wrestling and having fun. See, it can be done.
It absolutely can, because it's Riyadh season, pal. That's what we're doing out here. We're all selling out.
That's good. That's good shit, pal.
We're gonna work on the end of that story too on Stand Back. You're going over on him on the dance floor.
Okay.
We're gonna start the rumor that Jimmy Korderas is a dance motherfucking machine here on the locker room, baby. RBV, what do you got going down, pal?
Hey, it's quicker than a Rock or a Travis Scott entrance, and it is good booking. Make sure you head on over to Amazon, pick up the book, The 3 Count, My Life in Stripes as a WWE referee. Mr. Korderas' book there, perfect for the holiday season. And thank you, sir. I'm just honored to be here with my mug on the screen for this conversation. An absolute honor to have you. And we hope to have you back, interact with you on some other projects.
Oh, it'll happen for sure. I appreciate you guys having me. Like I said, I had a lot of fun. We'll do it again.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate it. You guys, the Monday Locker Room, super run in here from JK himself, the Ref and Rant podcast, reffing it up, you guys, here on the Monday Locker Room.
No bread, no water, just meat. That's all he wants. That's all he needs.